Hey, Jim.
How's it going, Dom?
Good, good. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah,
Always good to see you.
yeah, you too. I like that background you've got.
That's the red backdrop, right? The infamous red backdrop that we have
It,
here at and we stand out on every video that we produce. So
yeah, no kidding. It looks very royal,
yeah, thanks.
very royal. So people are either going to be listening to this as an audio, so they won't see that background, or they're
Yep.
watching it as a video when we post it. And then you've got a channel as well, so I don't know if you'll share it there. But for those of you who are just listening, Jim's standing against an awesome red background. He stands out, not like a sore thumb, but a really cool thumb.
Two thumbs up.
Two
That's
thumbs
that one.
up. Yeah, yeah. Hey, thanks for joining us here on the Profit Tool Belt podcast. We talk to trade contractors from all walks of life, but you come from a very specific niche within trades contracting, and that is
Roofing.
roofing. There's a
Yeah.
lot we can learn from roofers.
It's a competitive business.
Yeah, you guys live in dog years,
Yes.
right? I mean, things change so
Definitely.
fast. There's so many different angles to it.
Very, very quickly. Yeah.
Some people do supplemental work, some just do rework, some do new, some do. I'm going to be speaking in a couple of months. I'm doing a strategic planning session for a roofing association that's a closed group, and all they do is this super large corporate commercial stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a million
There's
angles in your business.
there are niches within the definite niches within the business. People that just focus on residential retail, people that just chase storms. Then you could get into all of the commercial stuff. There's so many aspects of it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
many.
Now, people listening may not have had a chance to meet you yet. Can you give us a little bit on your background? And if you don't mind, add in why somebody who's not a roofer should still listen to what we're going to talk about. Because I know our topic, and
That's
you know
right.
our topic, which is how to get more of the right customers. But maybe you can give us your perspective on it.
Yeah. So I'm Jim Ahlin. I am the co-founder of Roofer Marketers. We're a digital marketing agency in the roofing industry, and also the author of Internet Marketing for roofing contractors, and the host of the podcast Roofing Success. And my background stems back to the late 90s and early 2000s is when I got involved in internet marketing. I got a degree in management of information systems, and that started me on a path into a career path into programming. And and from there, I learned that I was not a good programmer, and got more into the marketing side. And so I have a deep understanding of technology and the programming side. And so I've utilized that to help develop marketing plans and marketing systems, for almost 2 decades now.
Wow.
And I've done that for my own businesses, and I've done it, and now, as an agency, and then as a niche specific agency in the last couple of years with Roofer Marketers.
Wow. And so what brought you to the roofing industry? Because it is, as we said, very specific.
Very specific. We, as a general agency, we found that, we had to relearn people's industries over and over and over again. And so we weren't providing the optimal, optimal customer experience for them. So
Right.
when some of our customers were roofing contractors at the time, and, we were serving them in an exceptional way. And so we decided to just focus on that. And so roofing kind of came to us,
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah,
It's interesting because today we're going to be talking about how to find more of the right customers. And you and I have both done that,
we have.
right? I mean, you started out with a general agency, and somebody listening might have said, I'm a roofer, we do roofs.
That's right.
And somebody that listens to my show might have said, I'm a trades guy, I do trades, whatever it is.
Yeah,
But over time, we find that there's a certain kind of perfect client who fits what we do and the way we do it. And those clients are less hassle, and they make
that's right.
us more money, and we smile more when we're working.
For sure.
That's how you got there, right?
It's the most important thing, and it's the person that you want to do business with.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to do being a business owner is difficult, right? Running a business is difficult, day-to-day operations and things like that. So not, using that 80-20 rule, right? And focusing on, the getting rid of 80% of your problems. And a lot of those problems come from the wrong customer.
Yeah. It's funny you just mentioned 80-20. My last business, I was business partners with a guy named Brian Tracy, who's a, have you heard of Brian?
Of course, I know Brian. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So he's a really well-known author in the business improvement space, et cetera. And for the last 15 years, I've been running the franchise organization of the Brian Tracy organization. And Brian and I were just on a quick call the other day yesterday in the car, and he was talking about the 80-20 rule as well. That, 80% of the effort we put in goes nowhere, but it's that 20%. And we have to continually focus on the 20% that has the most impact, the most long-lasting impact. And I have to add, he said it way better than I'm explaining it right now.
Brian is a very eloquent speaker.
Super eloquent. Yeah.
I think I have it might be a quote from him that I use, and if I misquote him, I apologize, but it speaks to that target audience. It's if you can see through Joe Jones' eyes, then you can understand how Joe Jones buys.
Yeah.
Is essentially the theory there. And that really, so first you have to determine who you want as your ideal client, and then you have to just understand them.
Boom. Right? We're into our topic. So let's talk about this. And you're an expert in this. This is why I tracked you down. And everybody listening, I tracked Jim down to have him on this show. So I hope you're listening, whether you're a roofer or not. Let's talk about getting more of those right kind of customers. What can you share with us, Jim?
Yeah. So really the first part in finding that ideal customer is understanding who your ideal customer is, right? That's your market.
Yeah.
And we do that. We do an exercise in this that you can do, with your business, and it's identifying your ideal customer avatar is kind of what we talk about. And you may have multiple customer avatars in your business, depending on, the type of business that you run, the type of contracting that you do, things like that. Maybe you do commercial and a commercial aspect of your business and a direct to consumer portion of your business, right? If you're a plumber, maybe you do, commercial projects and residential projects. If you're, HVAC, everything, right? There's a commercial side and the residential side in most of the contracting that we do, most of the contracting businesses. So you can have multiple customer avatars to start with. So let's let that be out there. But the first thing that we kind of look at in developing our target customer avatar is who do we want to do business with, right? And that person is usually the person who will pay you for your services
without complaining,
and pay you. When I say for your services, I don't mean just pay you for your services, pay you a premium for your services, really. Pay you what you're worth, pay you your value. Not the person who's just looking to get something done as cheaply as possible, because that's the quickest way to put your contracting business out of business is dealing with those people. So understanding those people. And the first thing we kind of want to look at it is the demographics. So, maybe for in the roofing side of things, and one of the target demographics is a homeowner, of course, right? Because that's a person who needs a roof. In a lot of the other trades, the same thing. There's not many renters that are remodeling their kitchens.
No,
right?
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, right? Maybe a target age. You can kind of look back at your customers and find out, kind of that age range that you work with. Maybe 35 years and older is a more ideal age range in there. So these are just the demographic things. Kitchens and baths and things like that. Maybe typically, even in the roofing industry, a lot of the decision makers come from the female side of the household, especially in the design ideas and things like that. So you want to be speaking to that person a lot.
Right.
Typically married, maybe with a couple of kids, the head of household, they make a certain amount of income, to be able to afford your services. Family oriented, reliable, trustworthy. Some things that maybe not being handy, right? That's a good one that people,
they don't own their own ladder.
Right. They don't own a ladder. They don't have, a tool belt. They don't have a chop saw. They don't have, they may have a screwdriver, right? And so that type of person, and just thinking about the person that is that person. And those people are going to have pains and frustrations. And those pains and frustrations, in the roofing industry is a roof leak. In plumbing, it would be a pipe leaking or a faucet not working or
Right.
something similar to that. In HVAC, the air conditioning is not working. That is a big pain in the summertime. Maybe not up in Canada where you are, but
No, hey, it could be heat in the winter. Yeah,
heat in the winter, exactly,
yeah.
on the other side of it. But I think Vancouver, you guys have a little milder climate there, don't you?
Yeah, we do. We do.
Yeah, being on the water. But and they need to get these issues resolved, right? And maybe they don't have the time to deal with it themselves, right? That's a big thing to think about. That's your target audience.
Right.
They don't have the time to do this. They may not have the skills or the time to do this. We're talking about ideal. So they're worried that the situation could cause a bigger issue in their house, right? Cause more damage.
Yeah.
If they're, especially with things like plumbing, if there's a leak or something like that, or electrical, man, as an electrician, if you open up that service panel and you see some things melting, right, you better, if you as a customer, that customer has a big pain point there.
Yeah.
Then we kind of move into things like their fears and implications of those fears. The first thing in the contracting business that people are worried about is being ripped off.
Yeah. It's funny that there's a couple things. First, I'm going to call a bunch of contractors and none of them will show up.
Yes.
And then when you show up, they're worried you're going to rip them off, even though you're the only choice because you're the only guy that showed up.
You're the only one that answered the phone. That's right.
Yeah.
So being a professional is very important. And so you have some obstacles to overcome in those fears. And that, speaking to that, that's one of the biggest things is having to wait around for the contractor to arrive, worrying about them damaging the home even further.
Yeah.
You see it on the news stories all the time. This, the guy that, came in and tore my house apart and now I gave him $50,000 and this is what I don't have a kitchen yet. And, and that's, those are the fears that people have and they can be realistic to some point. And they, so you have to be able to build that up. They're worried that they may be inconvenienced by you coming and doing the work or in the times that you can be there to show up and do estimates, that the bill may end up higher than they expected in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. So some of the things, those are things that they're really, that people really worry about in regards to those fears that they have with dealing with you as a contractor.
Yeah.
And so we have to, we have to work towards that and craft our messages and talk to those people. So first we have to identify, right? That's the first thing we're doing here is building out this ideal customer avatar. We're identifying these things, beyond just some of the things that deal with you. Some of their goals and desires might be, to have a well-kept home, to eventually maybe live in a nicer home, to take care of their family, spend more time with family is a big one, right? They don't want to be wrapped up in this project that, and dealing with this project when they could be, at their kids'
doing something else,
right?
Yeah.
They want to have peace of mind. They want to have respect and approval from their friends and family and relatives. So speaking to your cabinet audience, they want that awe factor when they, when people come into their house and, oh yeah, this is a beautiful, oh, you've done a wonderful job here. That's part of their goals and desires. And so, you want to speak to all of those things, right? So we have to outline all these things. And as I mentioned before, you may have residential contractors, you may have, or customers, commercial customers.
Yeah.
Everybody may be a little bit different. So you got to kind of figure that out within your business. So it's a little bit of a task for you, but I challenge you to do it because it will make a huge impact, right?
That's what I was
on your business.
That's what I was going to ask you, Jim, is let's say I'm listening to this podcast, I'm walking my dog or I'm driving, maybe I'm actually working in the shop listening to the podcast. I've got my head wrapped around this ideal customer thing. How do you give me any exercises, because you've worked with lots of different trades guys, but let's say roofers, what kind of exercises do you put me through as a roofer to start writing this down and thinking about it? What should I do?
Yeah. So the first place to start, of course, is looking back through your past customer database and thinking about who those people are,
Right.
and thinking about the ones that you enjoyed dealing with the most,
Yeah.
right? And were the most profitable jobs for you. So that's the first thing that we do is we start to think about that. Go back and put some thought into that, and then going on next to that is I'll just kind of give you the bullet points. Think about the demographics of those people, their pains and frustrations, their fears, their dreams and aspirations, goals and desires, and what they're looking for in a company like yours. And if you're a contractor that's been out in the field, and selling your company to homeowners for many years, you'll have a lot of this information intuitively.
Yeah.
Right. You kind of have this intuitively, but getting it down on paper, right, and have putting together that exercise of going through these things, for each of your ideal customer avatars. That's where the difference is going to be made, because then you're going to learn how to speak to them in a way that they can that they can relate to your services, right, and find value. And when your value exceeds your price, that's when people buy, right? It doesn't matter what the price is. It's when the value that they feel you have are going to provide them exceeds the price that you give them, right, on that estimate.
That's why we don't want people selling on the cheapest price. It's not a way to get ahead in business. We never want to be the cheapest provider because it's a race to the bottom.
It is.
We'll never win that, and that's the wrong customer anyway.
We'll never win that for sure. And really, it's your choice to work with someone or not, right? And that's a lot of times that the contractors get wrapped up in that they feel like they just have to take the next job. Yeah. And that becomes a problem. So I have it's an analogy that I've been thinking about recently, and I haven't said it out loud too often. So you could
give it a good shot. Let's
feel it out with me here, Dom.
I will.
Bear with me a little bit, audience, in this. But I thought of it like this: like if you had if you were going to pick stocks, right, and there were 5 stocks in front of you, and you knew that stock number 1 was going to lose you 20%. Stock number 2 was going to lose you 15%. Stock number 3 would lose you 10%. Stock number 4 would break even, and stock number 5 would profit yourself 10%, right? It would have a 10% return on investment. Which one would you choose?
Well, I would choose the one that brought me a return.
The one that brought you a return. And it happens so often that in our contracting businesses, we're just picking the next one because it's the next one.
Yeah, we're getting locked in a cycle, right?
Right, you get stuck in this cycle. So we choose, there's times you're almost choosing to lose money in your business, and that's where we have to get away from. You have to really find that perfect customer, the one that's willing to pay you what you're worth. Because as someone who's an expert in your trade, man, there's a lot of value in what you do. Yeah. Right. And you have to have that worth in yourself to understand your value. And so, maybe hopefully that analogy went over well.
It does. And I'll tell you, just this morning at the gym, a friend of mine is an electrical services contractor, commercial work. And they took a job in a ski town. So I live in Vancouver, as you said, and a ski town is Whistler. So driving to Whistler is no small feat. Plus staying overnight in Whistler is a big deal, pricey, etc. It's the shoulder season right now. As we're recording this, it's December, but ski season's starting to pick up. What she's finding, and it's a husband and wife team, is that the travel time and the hotel time can't be captured in the pricing they do in Vancouver versus Whistler.
Yeah.
And so even though the job looked great on paper financially, they're losing money on travel time. And it's that soft bleed. That's why I talk about profit leaks. It's a profit leak. Without identifying the perfect customer, it sounds like they just took the job because the job was there, keep their crew working, etc.
That's right. Yep.
Instead, if they didn't do the things you're talking about, which is identify your ideal client, know their demographic, know how to talk to them locally, and go get more of that business.
Yes. That's a great point. And sometimes we either make money or we learn a lesson. right? And
Very
learning
philosophical. Yeah.
there are times where you have to learn those lessons, but now you know that ski resort town customer is not your ideal customer avatar, right?
No.
Or you have to bid, you learn how to bid your jobs appropriately.
Yeah.
And maybe the first job you didn't bid appropriately, right? It happens.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of stuff that goes on once you open those walls up. So
Hey, so this actually leads to a question that I know that in the marketing world, you would have a conversation about this with a client or somebody you work with. I call it acquisition cost versus lifetime value. What did it cost me to buy a client? Because that's what we do, right? If I do a direct mail campaign to a certain neighborhood, I'm sure I'm spending the money on that direct mail or internet campaign, whatever it is, but I'm spending money on that, but I'm trying to buy a client. So I'm trying to spend $500 to get a job for $5,000 that hopefully has $1,000 of margin in it.
Yes.
But how do you explain, or how do you have that conversation about what I call acquisition cost versus lifetime value?
So yeah, definitely. Customer acquisition cost is one of the most important metrics in your business. Right? And you do need time and enough data to understand that. And you can identify customer acquisition costs through multiple channels also. The easiest way is, of course, take the number of customers that you've had in a time period, say a year, and divide that into your total revenue, and or into your total marketing spend. Into your total marketing spend, and that's your customer acquisition cost. And then you could break that down into channels. So if you're running, Google pay-per-click ads, you can look at what you spent there and how much it cost you to acquire a client there. But having a clear understanding of that is extremely important, because it will give you those signals, right? It's those signals in your business, maybe a stoplight, green, yellow, red.
Right.
If that customer acquisition cost is starting to creep into your margins too much, there's two things that you may need to adjust. One is the way that you're bidding your projects, and the other is the way that that marketing channel is performing. So that's one of the things to identify there. And one of the most overlooked aspects, what you had mentioned, is the long-term value of a client. So I was just out in Denver, Colorado, and one of my best friends out there is an electrical contractor also, and he was having this conversation where he's like, these people just keep coming back to me and keep coming back to me and keep coming back to me. And maybe I go in and I change out a fan, one day, and then, a few months later, they're redoing their bathroom and I get some work there. And then, oh, well, now we're going to redo the basement. So now we got to add a panel and we got to do this and we got to do that. And so over time, you're always just continuing to get value out of these clients. So maybe it costs you $1,000 to acquire a client, and maybe that client or customer, maybe your profit on that job is $500, right? Cost you $1,000. Well, that's losing money. So, but what if the lifetime value of that client was $5,000 in profit? So now, that $1,000 of acquisition cost is worth that long-term value of that client.
Right.
So you have to really look at those
about stocks.
That same thing with exactly. There's you can't just focus on the now, right? And it's hard in our businesses some days because we're wrapped up in it. It's we get in the middle of it, and it's you're looking at your bank account going, oh boy, we got to get this check in. We got to get so and so to pay quick, or payroll's not going out. I understand that really creates issues in the mindset of it, and being able to look long term. But it's definitely, you have to understand those two metrics in those clients. And so maybe going back to your perfect customer avatar, maybe some of your perfect ideal customers are the ones with a higher long-term value than ones with a shorter term value. So lots of ways to think about it.
Yeah. Well, let's, you've probably got some great stories. Can you think of any, especially in the roofing industry, a marketing story from a roofing company and how that played out? And if you've got a story like that, what they were like before they got serious about their marketing and what they look like now?
Yeah. So, they're, one of our older clients is a company here in the Minneapolis area, Prominent Construction. and they, they were like any other contractor, especially on the digital side. It's kind of a foreign world a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
Digital marketing. And so, they had a website, and they were, but most of their business was done through word of mouth and some door knocking and canvassing. And they scratched and made it and got to a place where they were, doing a couple $1 million a year in roofing, and, which is an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah.
But then when they got to that point, they said, well, okay, what do we do now? Because we've ran out of word of mouth, right? We're kind of at a plateau here. And so they came on board and started working with us in 2015. And we redeveloped all of their internet marketing, beginning with SEO, built them a really high converting website, and started working on their local rankings and getting them to show up in their local market, and building upon that and help building their reputation. Reputation is immense online. It's, people trust online reviews nearly as much as a referral from a friend or family member.
Isn't that crazy?
Let's say that one more time.
Yeah.
People trust online reviews nearly as much as a referral from a friend or family member. Yeah. So if you don't focus on that in your business, you're really missing, there's a big gap there. So then we move on, and through the years now, last year, 2018, they hit the Inc. 5000 with couple 100% growth in doing about $5.5 million in revenue this year. That I think they're going to hit about 6.5, 7.
Wow!
And really, it's just this expansion of their brand, and focusing on the right customers also. They really dialed in, their customer avatars and speaking to those people in the right manner. So.
Yeah. That really is the key. And I know you opened with that, but there's no use spending marketing money. You shouldn't spend $1 on marketing unless you understand who you're spending it to talk to.
Definitely.
Right? I mean, you have to understand your target, then you have to understand what your offer is, and then comes what we call the copy or the written or the marketing piece, right? But until you understand the target, there's no use spending any money.
Any money. No. You have to know who you're speaking to. And in the, kind of the basics of that in internet marketing for all roofing contractors, because they're more locally focused businesses, you're really focused around the services that you provide in your service area. Right? In speaking to, those are the general things. People are going to type in roofer near me, plumber near me, right? Electrician near me, remodeler near me, on and on and on.
Yeah.
Or the, that plus the city, state, things like that. So those are the region.
If they're in the belt line, they'll say belt line roofer.
That's right. Or the nickname for your area, the Metroplex is Dallas, and different things like that. So all of those things, and then the services, and not just, they won't just type in, roofer or plumber. Sometimes they'll type in some more detailed information, that they're looking for, maybe a specific type of roofing or plumbing service that they're looking for. If it's a drain cleaning or drain clog, or if it's, on the roofing side, if they're looking for, a metal roofing, or on the commercial side, TPO or EPDM or some of these other roofing systems. So maybe that customer already knows what they're looking for a little bit more, and you can speak to that in your digital marketing. So
yeah. That goes, and by the way, for those of you listening, what Jim is talking about loops right back to understanding your perfect customer and the language they're speaking. Because if they're going to be talking about clay tiles, we know that house has clay tiles. And a house with clay tiles is a middle-income house in a middle-income neighborhood with 2 working people, maybe 20, 30-year-old neighborhood that needs renovations. Clay tile might be the perfect word. And Jim, I'm taking a stab on that, but that tells me something about the house, right?
Yeah. And it really is about the words, right? That's what we look for a lot in digital marketing, is first, after we develop the perfect, customer avatar, we first develop our message around that. And so that's, why would someone choose to do business with you versus the competition? What benefits do you offer that specific target customer? right? That they'll resonate with. They're speaking to their fears, speaking to the benefits of your services that they're looking for. You know, if you have free inspections or, you know, straightforward pricing, upfront pricing, things like that, you know, speaking to the trustworthiness of your company and crews and service techs, all of that type of thing, you know, speaking to the warranties that you provide, speaking to the, you know, in the roofing business, you know, or in restoration, speaking to some things like how you'll help them with their insurance claims, paperwork and things like that. Not in Texas anymore, but that's a whole nother story. You know, having affordable financing options, a big fear that people can't afford it, right?
Yeah.
So maybe can't afford your services. So speaking to those affordable finance options, making the case that you have, you know, if you're, you know, kind of an emergency service type of provider, that you have fast same-day service.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of those things. So developing
Answering
that
their
message.
fears.
Yeah.
Right? It's answering those fears. Yeah.
Answering those fears. Yeah. And in doing so now you're talking about the person who has that tile roof, and you know the fears that they have within that. And so you're speaking to the fears of that consumer and directing your marketing message in that way. So
it sounds like there's a wealth of knowledge. There's lots more, you know. Now, and you have a podcast as well. Would you mind repeating it so that people listening that want to know more about?
Yeah, it's the Roofing Success Podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic.
So hope to have you on one day.
Yeah, well, I'd like to be on there too.
Right.
If somebody wants to find out more about you and your background and knowledge in helping roofing companies, how would they track you down?
Yeah, Roofer Marketers. So that's the easiest way to find us. You can Google us. We'll come up right away. Go to our website, roofermarketers.com. Follow us on Instagram at Roofer Marketers, Facebook, Roofer Marketers. Love to connect with everyone on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. Just search my name, Jim Ahlin, Ahlin. You know, connect with me on LinkedIn. That'd be awesome. And then we put out a ton of content. So, you know, our YouTube channel, search for Roofer Marketers on YouTube, tons of great content there. And then this content the content that we provide is focused on roofing, but it'll carry over and provide value to anyone in local contracting businesses for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and I think you and I both understand that inherently because we've been at this game for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
People love to know, though, that you specialize in left-hand vegan roofers, and they think I'm a left-handed vegan roofer. I only want to talk to a left-handed vegan roofer expert.
Right.
But in reality, you and I are in the business of business.
Yes.
And on this show, this show particular, and my other show as well, it's the business of the trades business.
Yeah.
That's what we focus on. I like the level that you brought us to today. So thank you very much, Jim.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time.
Great.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.